Tyler the Creator. Whoa.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Tyler the Creator album, Wolf. Tyler the Creator raps and makes beats. Zero. It's a zero. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Tyler the Creator album, Wolf. Tyler is a rapper, producer, member of the West Coast hip-hop outfit IFHY. This is his third full-length LP, a highly anticipated release, a follow-up to his 2011 album Goblin. At this point, due to the saturation of hype, which came out before Goblin and came after Goblin as well, I'm going to assume you don't really need a history lesson on this guy. But if there's one thing that I can say in retrospect, because it's been 2 years since the release of Goblin, it's that IFHY has really kind of been an integral part in this rising demand for alternative personalities and messages in popular hip-hop music. Yes, IFHY is not the only face in alternative hip-hop, and they're definitely not the first, and they're nowhere near my favorite, but they are a favorite for a lot of people out there. And if you actually listen a little bit deeper into Tyler's music past some of the shock stuff, past some of the faggot stuff, past some of the rape stuff, you do catch a lot of themes of psychosis, insecurity, self-hatred, social awkwardness, issues of racial and social identity. These are things that made Bastard such an intriguing album, though it wasn't the best produced album or the best rapped album. However, when Tyler put out Goblin in 2011, it seemed that a lot of the shadowy secrets and a lot of the intimacy sort of floated away in exchange for just Tyler's fame. He was deafened in a way. On Wolf, we see Tyler kind of regaining focus, reaching back, and grabbing once again at that darkness that made Bastard an interesting album. And on top of it, the production is more ambitious too. Now, like Bastard and like Goblin, there's kind of a theme, there's a progression, there's a narrative to Wolf. It involves things like a camp, a bike, girlfriend, as well as conflicting sides to Tyler's personality or characters that he's kind of conjuring up for this story, like Sam as well as Wolf. And there are moments where Tyler seems to be kind of rapping just from the standpoint of himself. Not every track on this LP plays into the emotional theater that Tyler has created. It is definitely not the disciplined and direct concept album that is Good Kid, Mad City, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a pretty personal and depressing album. For me personally, what has bothered me on some recent IFHY releases, like the OF tape and Goblin, there's just a lot of spots where Tyler sort of seems to squander his potential and just dicks around. However, on Wolf, it seems that he is trying to work up to a higher standard, lyrically and instrumentally too. I see kind of a progression from Goblin to Wolf that isn't too unlike what Eminem did from the Slim Shady LP to the Marshall Mathers LP. Sure, Tyler is nowhere near as skilled a rapper as Eminem is, or at least what he was around the time that he came out with those two albums, but Tyler benefits just as much as Eminem did from an outsider image. And it seems that Tyler has like a love-hate relationship with this outsider image. Though he raps about it a lot, it seems he embraces it on some tracks. It makes him kind of an exciting, dangerous character. There are moments on this album where it feels like he would trade all of that in a heartbeat for a dad who loves him, as well as some self-esteem or some genuine acceptance. One of the several good things that Wolf brings to the table is most definitely variety. There, for one, is a handful of hype tracks on this LP. One of the first ones is the track Jamba, which has a pretty decent beat behind it. Tyler the Creator really shores up his production on this album. I like the farty synths on this track, as well as the click-clack beat, the weird moaning female vocal sample. It's a nutty instrumental, and Tyler comes off nutty as well in the verses that he's throwing out there. If there's one downside to a lot of the hype tracks on this LP, it's that Tyler kind of finds himself rapping about the same stuff over and over and over, like some kind of weird sexual excursion that he had while he was over in Europe. His asthma, his 4-story house, his mother, other members of IFHY, and on top of it, the roach that he ate in the Yonkers video, which ironically on the song Colossus, he raps about how he doesn't want to be affiliated with the Roach anymore. He's glad it worked. He's tired of hearing about it. It's over. It's done with. I didn't really care for the song Parking Lot either, instrumentally and flow-wise as well. It's one of the few tracks on this album that felt really kind of half-assed. The only more hype-oriented tracks that I thought were either funny or really entertaining were, for one, Trash Wang, which is just kind of another, toward the end of the album, trap-flavored posse track, a lot like what Bitch Suck Dick was on Goblin. It's really offensive, the flows are bad, a lot of what's being rapped about is totally ridiculous, over the top, and I loved the song Rusty on this LP. Not only is the beat really hard-hitting and have a sharp boom bappy set of drums, but the sample on this thing is really sort of eerie and RZA-esque. It's definitely some Wu-Tang worship on this thing. And Damo, when he comes through on his verse with this track, he sounds freaking hungry. This is the hungriest I've ever heard this dude on a track. And Tyler as well. His verse is cutting too when it comes to his fans, his critics, and just the ridiculousness of the situation that he's in fame-wise, which he also sort of makes fun of on the track Damo 23, like I mentioned in my review. There are more highlights on this LP though, more than I think what was on Goblin, like the song Awkward, where Tyler seems to kind of touch back on a few things he talked about in Goblin, like this girl who he seems to have this ongoing crush on, whose name is his password. And he seems to put himself in this situation where he locks lips with her, but it's not really this kind of joyous, celebratory, oh my god, I kissed this girl that I love. Instead, it's awkward, because where does he even go from here? And I guess he sort of assumed that this was leading to something, when in fact it wasn't. The beat is pretty decent, and while the pitch-shifted vocals just going down a few notches was a little off-putting at first, the flow and the lyricism and the emotion are pretty much all there. Coming after this track, the song Answer, is my favorite song on this album. I think it's an amazing track. It's the best track Tyler has done on this topic. His freaking father who abandoned him, who of course he raps about on Bastard, but nowhere near as intense as on this track, where yeah, Tyler hates the guy, he lashes out at him in every way that he possibly can, but at the end of every verse he comes to the conclusion that if he calls him, he hopes he answers. The anger, just the desperation on this track are so freaking thick, and I love the jazzy quality of the instrumental. Coming after this, the song I Fucking Hate You, which is another favorite of mine on this LP, surprisingly. The song is about really kind of being in a relationship, but this person that you're with is this person that simultaneously you love, they make you happy, but you hate them as well. You hate what this relationship is doing to you. It's confusing. It's this new experience. The track is filled with all these clunky synths that Tyler typically puts into his songs, which is just his style at this point. It's something that, yeah, was on Goblin as well, but what I really didn't like about those beats wasn't necessarily the clunkiness, but just how cheap and thin and just how messy some of the mixes were and stuff like that. The assembly of the clunky synths on I Fucking Hate You are great. Tyler finds a way to make this weird, awkward, rudimentary, and kind of ugly production style that he has and make it kind of epic and beautiful with the cold, just very chilly synths at the beginning of the song, the very beautiful R&B flavored chorus vocals toward the end of the track. The clunkiness of some of the synths just adds to the character of the song, which is totally freaking schizo. He feels like he's in love, but he's also just ready to snap at the moment that this relationship crumbles and he finds this person that he's with another guy, and he becomes a stalker and just comes up on him with a bad attitude. The song 48 is another solid track on this LP. It's a critique of drug dealers. Tyler himself plays this person who deals drugs, but the fact that what he's doing is destroying lives and destroying neighborhoods, it kind of gets to him emotionally. The closing track on this LP, Lone, is a touching, sad, and heartfelt ode to the passing away of Tyler's grandmother. He's got all these descriptions of being in the hospital, dealing with this kind of pain and awkwardness in her final moments, and I love the beat on this track, which is really, really jazzy, but kind of has this elevator music quality as if it were being pumped out through speakers that were like in hospital ceilings or something like that in the hallway. The song Colossus is essentially Tyler's version of the Eminem song Stan. He's dealing with just overexcited fans who are obsessed over him, maybe for all the wrong reasons, and feel like they love him when they really don't understand that much about him. And some of the weirder experiments on this LP actually go over pretty well too, like the song Tamale, which has this weird, clunky, heavy, world beat influenced instrumental and this weird female vocal sample. Tamale, 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 tamale. The beat kind of reminds me of like what I would hear on an MIA album. And Tyler, lyrically, delivery-wise, comes off as really brash, offensive, entertaining, just colorful. Some of the other risks that Tyler takes don't go over so amazingly though, like the song Tree Home, which has a pretty nice vocal contribution from Erykah Badu, not one of her best, but even though I like the jazzy sort of neo-soul vibe of this track, I'm not really into some of the corny lyrics on this thing. But I have to say, maybe my least favorite part in this entire LP is the Party's Over, Campfire, Beamer medley toward the middle of the album. Party Isn't Over and Campfire just meander too much. They sort of get thrown in together to kind of add to the storyline that Tyler wasn't really riding all that hard up to this point anyway. And instrumentally, lyrically, they're not that interesting. Beamer is the best song out of the three, and I feel like the first two songs wouldn't even be listened to if Beamer weren't thrown at the end of them. But generally, I don't even think Beamer is that good of a track. The instrumental, the tune, the beat is okay, but I think a lot of the trashy woman-car comparison metaphors are, well, I said, trashy. Overall, I liked Wolf. Honestly, I thought it was a decent album. Though the highlights on this album are high, it's kind of spotty too. There are tracks on here that meander or just really kind of feel like filler, and Tyler is clearly not interested, at least at this point anyway, in improving his technical abilities as a rapper, because a lot of his flows on some of these tracks can be kind of awkward, despite the fact that they may be heartfelt and very emotive. The instrumentals are a definite improvement. The feature list is pretty impressive, and getting people like Erykah Badu and even Letitia Sater on your album is, I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. If you've given it a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Tyler the Creator, forever.